Iowa. We're going to be in New Hampshire. We're not going to ignore or skip either one of those. We've already started a strong presence in South Carolina and Florida and the South. And yes, South is going to be key, but we're not going to skip those early states. I started going to those states last fall, even before I declared. So it's not like we're starting from scratch.
That was Herman Cain bringing the Hermentum right here on FoxNews.com in an interview earlier today. And this is Power Play. Welcome back, Internet. And with us still is Shira Toeplitz. She is a senior political reporter for Roll Call. We are joined now by Ford O'Connell. He's a former McCain-Palin presidential campaign advisor, and he is the chairman of Civic Forum PAC. And you are, we should point out, real Republican-y, right?
I am very Republican-y.
Okay, good. All right. We've got that. Now that we've got that covered. So the sound that you hear out there in the distance is Mitt Romney doing a happy dance today. It's like, yeah, buddy, because Chris Christie's not running for president. And it's going to... Ford, is Mitt Romney the luckiest human being since Barack Obama when it comes to running for office? Because everything has fallen his direction. Good Christie hype helps him keep the field roiled and money out of Rick Perry's pocket. And then in the end, when he doesn't run, it's all to Romney's advantage.
Absolutely. I mean, the first gift that Mitt Romney like was Michelle Bachmann. That was the greatest Christmas gift he could have ever had, good for because it helped keep Perry at bay. Also now with Chris Christie not getting in, Chris Christie's sort of mania, as we'll call it, was really an indictment of how Romney's campaign was running. They really felt that this was driven more by establishment Republicans, and now that Christie is not in that field, Romney can now work to sort of solidify that establishment Republican mantle.
So these guys, and when he talks about these folks, I call them, I've said many times here, Internet, that Mitch Daniels' new book that's out that's called Saving the Republic is a masterstroke and probably will leave a lot of Republicans yearning for him. But we're talking about Daniels' Republicans, essentially, people that fall into the Paul Ryan category. You've got down from Mississippi, Haley Barbour. Christie fits into that camp of people who would be aligned with a primarily ideological fiscal conservative, but who moderates a little on social issues and softens the pitch. Why hasn't Romney been able to put that to bed? Is he going to start doing it now?
I think you'll definitely see some more momentum. And we already saw that building earlier this week as, a lot of media outlets weren't quite sure correctly that Christie was going to get into this race.
Right.
I mean, Romney has some things going against him still. First of all, he's just run before. We know him. A lot of, Republicans think he's boring. So
yeah, but he burned off a lot of the negatives.
Yes, he did. He has. So, I think going forward, he's going to have a much easier time than he has in the last 6 months. I think we've really come down to the wire. There's no one else who we can try and write about speculatively about getting in this field, you know?
I agree with you, but I do think that Romney's biggest hurdle is that people right now just don't trust him. A large segment of the Republican electorate just does not trust Mitt Romney, and he really has to work to resonate beyond establishment Republicans, because the way our condensed primary calendar is going, I would say this. I will sit here and guarantee that if Mitt Romney does not win the nomination, he'll be the last one out, because he's better set from a fundraising and organizing perspective. But he still has to get beyond establishment Republicans, because if he doesn't, he's really we could go all the way into April.
And that's that's something that Romney has sort of bet on this whole time, that he would have the depth, the reach into the calendar organizationally, having been running now for 5 years, that he's got that. Now,
don't forget the money. He'll have the money too.
He will have the money, and I think a good sign coming out, at least, in that we're going to play into the spring and possibly the summer, is the fact that Rick Perry, I guess, is going to raise over $10 million. Right. And should his debate performances improve, he probably will be promised more.
Well, they can't get worse.
Well, no, they really can't. That's his biggest problem right now.
In that way, it's nothing but upside. Now, let's talk about the Hermentum. Let's talk about Herman Cain, who I was at church on Sunday, and I had people come up to me. They said, "What about this Herman Cain? This Herman Cain is great." I mean, and I was like, "Well, he's been running for a year. What are you talking about? You haven't heard of this guy before?" All of a sudden, this Herman Cain enthusiasm. Now, I take it to be, Shira, a indictment of both of the front runners, that this is basically Republicans looking at Romney and looking at Perry and saying, surely there's something else.
Right. I'll say right now, Herman Cain, you have a good couple weeks, but you're still not going to win the Republican nomination for president.
All right. Okay. The internet's not going to like that.
The internet's not going to like that, but it's not, it's just not there. Okay. So
I have a lot of respect for Herman Cain, and I do agree with you. I think that this rise in Herman Cain's numbers is more of an indictment of Rick Perry than, say, Mitt Romney. And I think
it's reflected in Newt Gingrich also improving his numbers.
It is, but he's answering the questions and he's providing concrete solutions while Romney and Perry are engaged in a game of one-upmanship. And a lot of people don't care about that. They're saying my life is hurting and I need solutions. And even if the 9-9 plan is not the greatest plan out there, it's still a plan.
Right.
And it's still resonating with people, and he's actually answering the questions. Even Chris Wallace pointed that out. I mean, it really, he's doing a better job than the others, at least, of connecting.
Let's also think Herman Cain's rise also corresponds to Michelle Bachmann's fall as well.
He's picking up there.
The demise of her candidacy is very much helps him.
An interesting thing that happens here is that as President Obama's straits get more and more dire, when the president himself comes out, we're going to talk with Britt Hume in the next segment about this, but when the president comes out and says, you're not better off than you were 4 years ago, and I'm the underdog, that's setting a fairly low threshold for expectations managing for an incumbent president.
But that's presidential politics. That's what you got to do.
I understand, but the point being, as the president's future looks bleaker politically, Republicans are less inclined to compromise. And when you make an electability argument, as Romney did on Perry, and somebody will eventually on Herman Cain if his numbers stay high, people don't want to hear an electability argument because what they say is anybody can beat Barack Obama. Am I right?
I think so, to a certain degree. I think in general, though, the president's looked at with every passing week and every time those unemployment numbers shift up a little bit more. I mean, the president looks definitely more beatable, and I think that's more the point. I think there's a lot more energy on the Republican side than there was even in June or July. I think that in general probably contributes to a lot less of an argument about electability for Barack Obama.
For the big winner in all this Chris Christie speculation has been the New Jersey Republican Party, I imagine, as the governor has traveled across the country on a fundraising bid that happened to start this latest round of chatter. Today, when he comes out and says, no, I'm not running, don't you expect that we'll just hear basically a love note to New Jersey as he says, oh, they wanted to take me away from you, but I love you the most?
I do, and I think that one thing we haven't discussed is that Chris Christie has some unfinished business in New Jersey. And this is obviously a boom for the New Jersey Republican Party, but also waiting in the wings is a very talented Democrat in Cory Booker. And if Christie were to go out there and to run and flop, he would really be hurt should he turn back and try to win re-election in the Garden State. Focus on the Garden State, put it in the right direction and defeat Cory Booker. If you do that, the book's still open.
This is why we have him, because he does the Trenton poll. If you can poll Trenton Mayor, that's what we say is power playability. Shira, do you think that there's any way that anybody's going to knock Romney off, or do you see him now almost entering a glide path phase to the nomination?
I think there's certainly a possibility. Let's remember 4 years ago when John McCain was basically left for dead without a pollster. None of us thought he would come back, and look what happened. You remember it all too well, don't you? So there's always a chance, but I think we can pretty much say from here on out that Romney will be the front runner until further notice.
Okay. All right. You see why we like these people so much, Internet? They're smart. They know stuff. And she's a Steelers fan. So it will be our great good fortune in the next segment to talk to the Britt Hume. So stick around.